Fire, something we can now reach with the movement of a single finger. Have you ever wondered how fire was discovered ages ago? Imagine this: a dark night, a cold wind freezing your bones, predatory animals all around you, but that orange, glowing, heat-giving thing in your hands. That's what changed everything. Fire is humanity's greatest discovery. But how exactly did this discovery happen? The answer isn't a single story. Scientists have put forward different theories, and each one paints a completely different scene of how our ancestors first encountered fire. In human history, the discovery of fire is less of a miracle and more of a long journey spanning hundreds of thousands of years. And today, I'm going to share with you the 4 most widely accepted theories in the scientific world. If you're ready, let's take a journey deep into time. Learning from natural fires. The first encounter. The first theory takes us back nearly 7 million years to the African savannas. During that time, savannas were expanding across Africa, and they required regular fires to exist. Otherwise, they would turn into dense shrubs and forests. This is where lightning comes into play. Early humans frequently observed fires that started where lightning struck. At first, there was fear, then curiosity, and then discovery. Our ancestors began following these natural fires because fire left behind opportunity, cooked animal remains, fleeing prey, and most importantly, warmth. According to scientists, the first stage of humanity's interaction with fire began exactly this way. Early human species, like Homo erectus, learned how to preserve fire left behind by natural wildfires. These early humans, carrying a constantly burning branch, throwing animal dung into their caves to keep the fire alive, weren't producing fire, they were protecting it. This stage occurred around 1.5 million years ago, and burned bones found in Africa's Kubifora region are among the strongest evidence supporting this theory. Think about it. If you lose the fire once, you have to wait for lightning to strike again. That's why, for people of that time, the most important task was keeping the fire alive. They used slow-burning materials, dung, dry grass, damp wood. Once the fire went out, reclaiming it was extremely difficult. That's why fire was like a treasure, a shared central treasure that had to be protected day and night. Sparks from stones, intentional fire making. But one day, everything changed. Humans didn't just protect fire anymore. They learned how to create it. And this brings us to the second theory, producing fire by striking stones together. Around 400,000 years ago, a group of early Neanderthals lived near what is now the village of Barnum in England. These people discovered something remarkable. When a hard stone called flint was struck against another mineral known as iron pyrite, bright sparks flew out, and those sparks could ignite dry grass. Imagine the person who made this discovery. Maybe they noticed it while making stone tools. Maybe they accidentally struck 2 stones together. But that moment became one of the greatest moments in history. Because now, humans were no longer dependent on nature. They could start a fire anytime, anywhere. Archaeological excavations conducted in 2025 provided direct evidence of this. Scientists discovered hearth remains in Barnum showing soil repeatedly heated to over 700 degrees. And most striking of all were 2 small pieces of iron pyrite found at the site. These stones do not naturally occur in that region. They had been carried from miles away. Why? Because they were the key to making fire. Flint and pyrite, 2 simple stones. But they marked the beginning of one of the most important technologies in human history. Fire had become portable. Humans were now powerful against darkness, cold, and predators. For the first time, our ancestors could truly control their environment.
Friction and heat, the wood technique. The third theory is more primitive, yet just as fascinating. Making fire through the friction of wood. This method was widely used by Neolithic people. Picture this. You're holding 2 pieces of dry wood. One is fixed to the ground. You apply pressure and rapidly rotate the other. At first, you feel only warmth. Then smoke begins to rise. And suddenly, that tiny red glowing point, an ember. And with the right materials, that ember turns into a flame. This technique mimicked sawing and drilling motions. Humans discovered that friction creates heat, and they found a way to turn that heat into fire. Of course, it wasn't easy. Sometimes it took hours. Choosing the right wood, applying the right pressure, spinning at the right speed. But once mastered, they had a method to start fire whenever they needed. In the Far East, even fire pistons made from bamboo were developed. Compressing air inside a tube produced such intense heat that the tinder inside ignited instantly. Humanity hadn't just discovered fire, it had turned it into science. Food preservation, a different perspective. And our final theory is perhaps the least known, yet one of the most logical. Some researchers suggest that fire was first used not for cooking, but for preserving food. Researchers from Tel Aviv University proposed a fascinating hypothesis. Between about 800,000 and 1.5 million years ago, early humans like Homo erectus used fire occasionally, in specific places and for specific purposes. And that purpose may have been smoking food to preserve it. Think about it. You've hunted a large animal, but you can't eat it all at once. In a hot climate, meat spoils quickly. But if you expose it to fire smoke, if you smoke it, you can preserve it for days or even weeks. From a survival standpoint, this was revolutionary. This theory shows that the discovery of fire wasn't limited to a single purpose. Maybe at first it was just for warmth, maybe to scare off predators, maybe to preserve food. But over time, fire spread into every aspect of human life. So what do all these theories tell us? The discovery of fire isn't the story of one person or one moment. It's a long, complex, multi-layered process. Over hundreds of thousands of years, different human species encountered fire in different ways at different times. Some took it from nature, some created it with stones, others ignited it through friction. But they all share one thing in common. The discovery of fire changed human evolution forever. Because fire wasn't just about warmth or cooking. Fire enabled thinking, socializing, and the development of language. People gathered around fire, told stories, made plans, and got to know each other better. Today, we can access fire with the flip of a switch. But every time we strike a match or turn on a gas stove, we carry a legacy millions of years old. The patience, curiosity, and courage of our ancestors. They challenged the darkness, and they won. Fire is one of the things that made us human, the foundation of civilization, technology, and science. And it all began with a single spark. So what do you think? Which of these 4 theories do you believe is closest to the truth? How do you think the first humans discovered fire? Share your thoughts in the comments. Let's discuss. And if you feel like this video sparked something in you, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel, because there are many more stories waiting to be discovered. See you next time.